I am going to speak to you a little bit about flower pricing, pricing per stem, and kind of how to price per bouquet and kind of developing recipes for your flower bouquets. How many here are flower farmers? Like growing actively flowers currently? Okay, awesome. We got a few. That's good. How many want to grow flowers next year when the weather gets better? Yeah, great. Okay, so once it gets pulled up, we're going to kind of start going through that. A little bit about me and a little bit about K-Card. So K-Card is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are funded through state and federal funds to provide one-on-one business support to farmers and agribusinesses around the state of Kentucky and in neighboring states through different programs that we are part of. What does that mean? We come directly to you to meet with you to discuss business planning, marketing assistance, grant facilitation. We can help you find and apply for different grant programs if there are grant programs available, different funding opportunities. We can talk with you about financials. We can work through pricing per stem. We can work with you on whole farm pricing. We can work with you on wholesale pricing. We can work with you anything related to business. We do not do production. That is one thing that we do not do. There are lots of folks, there it is, lots of folks in this area and in this building today that do production, technical assistance, and we are not one of them. We do business. So now that the presentation is pulled up, you don't have to listen to me drone on and ramble. So again, we're going to talk about pricing flowers. The first part, we're just going to kind of go over quickly what we're going to go through. I am going to go through this a little bit quicker. It was originally geared to be about a 45-minute presentation. I'm going to go through it in 20. If you have questions, please raise your hand.
Right,
if
so
I don't see you, wave it around.
Smells good.
I will do my best to look around the room. Thankfully, these are not very big rooms because they've been split up.
I mean,
but
here,
do wave it
Heather,
around. If I don't
tested?
see you, just start talking, and I will stop talking.
How do you know what you're feeding?
So we're going to talk about some costs. We're going to talk about setting up pricing worksheets. And then we're going to talk about markups. So how to mark up your flowers.
A lot of low quality
I will
hay put up
guarantee
this
you that
year
most of
because
you are
of
not
the
charging
weather.
enough for your
A lot of
flowers.
it wasn't put up to late.
And that if you think you're going to charge
I know
enough
I
for your
put up
flowers, you're
some
probably
in
not.
June.
So what are your
It's the only time I
costs?
get in the
So
field
your
to do
costs
it.
are what it
And I
takes you
thought it
to
was going to be
produce
pretty good
one
hay, and
flower,
I sent it off expecting
one
10 or
stem
11% crude
to
protein to
sell,
come back 7.
either to a consumer
So you don't
or
know what
to
you're
a wholesale.
feeding.
So what
If it's
does that
anything
mean?
below 11%,
Your direct costs are costs that are directly associated
Sir?
with your crop.
I did not
so
get the
this
fertilizer
actually what it
because it
costs you
stayed
to
too
produce
wet
the
all
flower.
spring.
So the cost
And
of the
my
seed, the
ground
cost of
was
the
kinda
bulb,
wet,
the cost
and I
of the
didn't want to turn my
tuber,
ground all up trying to put
the
fertilizer
cost of the
down.
fertilizer, the
So then I was
tray, the
gonna wait till this fall to
irrigation,
fertilize, and
the
it turns
growing
off
medium,
dry.
the fungicide, the
No sense
potting
putting it down,
soil,
no
all
rain.
of that. That goes into the actual
I usually always
flower
do.
itself.
I just couldn't work it out
Just
this
like
year.
with vegetables, just like with meat, what
And
it
that's a
costs
good
to
point.
raise
It might
that
have been a
one
little higher
item.
If I had gotten in there and fertilized.
It also is your labor, site prep,
and
planting,
samples should be sent off
pruning,
in a timely
harvesting.
feeding.
Who here likes to go weeding gardens?
Samples should be sent
children.
or delivered to the lab
My
as
children
close
love
to
to
time,
weed gardens
which I don't
and
think
dig
that
up
makes much
bulbs.
difference. I've
They take
pulled
their monster
samples
trucks
2 or
out.
3 days
Goodness.
after I've
They take their monster
rolled
trucks
the
out there
hay,
and they
I've
dig it all
waited
up.
to fall
That's their
and
favorite
send
thing to
samples
do.
off again, and I don't know
Don't
how
know
7 minutes
why
worth of
they dig up
difference
everything else,
in the results.
but they're great labor. They're free.
Avoid collecting and
Our
sending
labor's
samples
free
later
too,
than a week or
but
around
it's
on
not
holidays.
fun.
So you want to try to send them off as
And
quick
it
as you get
costs
them
something.
pulled.
It
to
costs
keep them in
us
a cool
something over
space.
time. So what is our labor? How is our labor being tracked? And then packaging. How do you package your product? Are you selling it directly to the consumer? Is it in a mason jar? Are you wrapping it in craft paper? Are you selling it wholesale?
Tips
Is
on
it in
collecting,
boxes?
use a good probe.
Is it
Most
in
all your county
5-gallon
extension
buckets?
agents should have a
Are you getting
probe.
those buckets
And
back?
if you're not familiar
Are
with
you
what you're
giving
doing, they
those
should be able to
buckets
come out
away?
and help you pull hay
How
samples.
does that look? What is that cost to you?
Sample randomly within a single
And
lot.
then
So if
indirect
you've rolled
costs.
50 or
So
60
these are
rows,
costs that are associated with your
now
business. These
pull
are
about 20 samples out of each one of them, and if it's 2 or 3 weeks later, if you
on
roll
a
more,
profit
then
and
pull
loss
samples
statement,
out of
these would
them.
be considered your operating costs.
Take enough
So
samples.
these are like your
we
phone
have more than
expenses,
20 lots
advertising expenses,
or
marketing
20
expenses,
samples. Or
insurance.
store samples in a plastic bag,
If you're
cool,
setting up
dry
a farmer's
place.
market, your farmer's market fees. If you are setting up at
Here's
special
a
events and
copy
fairs
of
and
what you
festivals,
receive.
those fees. Whoops. Hitting buttons.
Well,
What does it cost
Main
to make
thing
your
you wanna
table
look at,
presentable? All of these
third one
pumpkins
down is crude
on
protein.
the table today would be indirect
And don't pay
costs.
attention to the numbers on the left.
The
The other thing you want to look at is
tablecloths
going to be on the
would be
right.
indirect
That's what everybody goes by.
All of those things
So this
are
is
important
20.4%
because
crude
while
protein,
they're
which
small
probably must have been
cost,
alfalfa or
and you
something
might
like
not think
that.
about them because if you're like me, you run to Hobby Lobby or you run to Michael's
Another
and you're like, oh, that's
indication
on
you want
sale,
to
it's
look
50
at
cents.
is
50 cents here and
TDN,
there
total
over time
digestible
add up.
nutrients. You want that
It adds up
preferably
over time,
somewhere
and it
around
adds up to a
50 to
lot.
60%. 60 is a lot
So
better.
think about those as you're thinking about your business. When you,
That's your
so
two main
here
things
is
you
an
probably want to look at on the hay
example
test, or two main
of a
things I
budget,
typically look at.
for
And everything's always
ranunculus.
done in a dry
And
matter
this is a tunnel
basis.
version. So she,
Just remember
Alexis
the 7,
Sheffield
9, 11. If
with
it's
the Center for
7%
Crop
crude protein
Diversification, this is from her
mid-gestation, it'd be
numbers.
okay. 9%
She
for
has her
late
own flower
gestation,
farm.
and 11%.
So her inputs are on the top, and those
for
are her
lactation
direct
cows.
costs. And then her labor, and she
And
estimates her labor at
except
$15
for
an
heifers
hour.
and growing cattle, you need to keep them in a level.
The reason you
you're
put your
going
labor
up.
on
you
there
don't back off
is
on their
because
feed.
if
You want to keep it
you
up around
yourself are
11%
not
or
able
better.
to do it, you have to pay somebody.
Anything under that, you
What
need to
would you pay
supplement to
them?
bring it back up.
And what do they have to do?
Understanding
So she would pay
analysis,
somebody $15 an
50%
hour
TDN for
to do
mid-gestation,
that.
55%
And that's about how
TDN for
long
late
it takes her
gestation,
for
and 60%
that
TDN
crop,
for
that
the
specific
lactation.
crop.
There
And then
again,
her
exceptions for
packaging
heifers
and
and
how much
growing
she
steers and
sells it
bulls
for.
and cattle.
So her total direct cost
Can be difficult to
for
supplement.
1 tunnel of ranunculus is $400.
UK has a
It's
good
just
chart.
over $400.
For if your hay comes in, like on mine, it come in like 7% crude protein.
Now tulips are a
When
little
I
bit
punch the
different.
numbers in on
They're a
it,
little
it come
bit
back
cheaper.
for
Not
me to
much.
feed 3 pounds per head
They don't have as
of
much
corn
labor
gluten
because there's
Monday,
not as
Wednesday,
much
and
going on
Friday
since it's not in a
to
tunnel.
bring
it's
my
out in
crude
beds.
protein up to where I needed to be to keep my cows in good, healthy
But
shape.
there's still quite a bit going on.
Rules of thumb
But
on the
tulips are not as
NDF,
hardy either.
anything less than 40% is
looking at
good
those
quality.
costs,
Anything
costs are
higher than 50% is low
$336.
quality. And then 50 and
So
60
and then her
on
indirect
grass
costs for her
hay.
business are about $2,000. Because if you look at her service
Both
fees,
these
so what it
hay
costs
right
for
here,
her
these
to use
hay A and
Square
B are
or,
both good for
credit
mid-gestation
card
and
payment,
late
pay per
gestation.
transaction with that, her website,
Lactating crude protein,
general supplies,
that's not
for
enough.
tools,
It needs to be on up there about 10 and a half or
subscriptions and
11.
dues, maintenance
You
for
could
her
get by with
computer,
A
advertising,
and maybe maintain body score condition.
printing, so getting business cards, getting
Body score
flyers,
condition, you
all
see
of
on
those
the one on the
expenses
left's
add
pretty
up
thin.
into this
The one
as
on the
well.
right is, like, body score
So,
conditions usually runs from number 1 to
Any
10.
questions so far?
So you
I'll
probably got
kinda
about
spin
a
through this
3
real
or
quick.
4 there on the left. The right's probably about an 8 or 9.
So how do we
and then
determine
the
the
one in the
pricing
middle is
percent?
about a 5 or
With
6.
all of these costs
That's
that
about
we've
where you
just
want to
figured out.
maintain, especially
So
for
if she's
breeding
just
back
growing
and
tulips and
reproduction and
ranunculus, she's looking at about $2,800 in business costs. So she would add up the total cost per crop divided by the number of
takeaway
stems.
points. Take advantage
She
of
would
the
tank
extended
for
grazing
tulips,
system by stockpiling.
$336 divided by however many stems she got from
Stockpiling, if
that
you can go in
total-
there
from that bed,
and put down
and
about,
that's what she would get as her cost
well, again,
per
I
stem.
think I passed that slide up.
So
but
for the sake of math,
when you buy
because I don't
urea,
math
urea
and
is
it's
only
still early,
46%
if
nitrogen.
she got
So if you want to put down 100 pounds of
30
nitrogen
nope.
to stockpile, you need to put down about 200 pounds of urea to get 90 pounds of nitrogen.
okay, so 28.
And
So
everybody's
she got
ground's
28
different.
stems,
Select and store
Or-
feed systems to make most sense for your operation.
280
And
stems.
get your forages tested. I remember several years
Well,
ago,
no, I don't know.
Dr.
If she's
Arnold
looking
at
at $1
UK
a
had all
stem,
kinds of cows coming
we're only
in
at
that
$1
had
a
died with full bellies.
That,
When she got to
and
sampling,
so
they were all died from
that's just-
malnutrition
this
because
is-
people were
this
feeding
is the
low quality
equation that you
hay.
need, whatever
They
your
wasn't
costs are.
bringing the protein back up and the energy
we can
back
work
up in the
through
hay.
these
She had a bunch come in that one year.
spreadsheets,
Provide supplement only
and
when
there's a link at the
necessary
end that we can
and
work
manage
through,
body condition score in your
together.
herd.
as well. So here's an example.
And then we have a Kentucky
So
State
if-
University has a
For
hay
tulips
testing
and
lab.
ranunculus, so looking at the ones that we just had,
Right now, the samples
So
are
she's
free.
had
The only thing it's going to cost you
quantity,
some postage to have them
she's
sent
got
down there.
240 bulbs, 100
Pretty rapid analysis. They do a
Ranunculus.
good job.
total field
If you have any
questions.
questions, Jacob here might be able to answer them
Expected
for you
stems
later.
per
He kind
crop,
of oversees the lab
240
down there.
tulips. $700 ranunculus. So her total
And I want to thank
direct
Katie
cost per stem
Balin
for
for
tulips is
letting me use some of her
$1.40,
presentation
and then
slides.
58 cents per ranunculus. So her indirect
Any
cost is 80
questions?
cents.
I'll
That
try
is
to answer
never
them
going to
best I can.
change. That 80 cents is going to
Yes,
stay
sir.
the same regardless, because it's her
walk back here.
indirect costs are going to
Forgot to put my
stay
hearing aids in
roughly
this
the same over time. They're not really going to change a whole lot. So you're looking at the total cost per stem for a tulip at $2.20 and for a ranunculus at $1.39. Who thinks that's really expensive for a tulip? Okay, I got one. Who thinks that's really expensive for a ranunculus? $1.39.
Mine seems
No.
to recover pretty good around here. A lot of that
Okay.
depends on your farm and your soil. You know, if you got a good deep topsoil base, most time they'll recover pretty quick if you got adequate moisture.
Okay. All right.
Do you fertilize your
So
hayfields
$2.20
also?
for a tulip, $1.39 for
Yeah, that's probably
ranunculus.
one reason they may not recover.
The way we
quite as
came up
often.
with that was we took the direct cost, $336,
Yes, sir.
36 divided by 240 equals $1.40 plus 80 cents equals $2.20. And then the same thing for the ranunculus.
They're not cold tolerant at all. We've got long blue stem
ma'am.
and switchgrass, 10 acres out here, that do pretty good in midsummer when the slump goes down in the fescue. I think it's some Indian grass in there too, I believe.
Yeah.
That's the only thing we have here on the farm, just
Yeah.
10 acres of that.
Yes, that's very right, Renella.
Not too much. Most
So
of
with
it's,
tulips, you only get
clovers,
one
lagoons,
bloom
and,
per stem. So you
fescue
get
and
one
orchard
stem per
grass.
crop, pretty much. With ranunculus, you get
timothy.
multiple blooms, multiple stems. And so you need to know that
Anybody
ahead of
else?
time. So you see with ranunculus, you get
I hope I didn't bore you
700
too bad.
stems
Like I
per
said,
crop, and we're only
I'm
sowing
not
100.
a professional speaker. It's only
So
about
you
the
get a
second time I've
lot
ever
more
done this.
bang for your
So,
buck, I guess would be a better way of saying that, than you do with
Either get better or
tulips.
won't be asked to do it
But
no more.
that's not always the case. There are other crops
I
that
guess
are.
that's it then. Nobody's got any more questions. Thank
There
y'all
are
for
other
coming.
crops as well, and that you can consider that have more stems to them that are lower price, but they also aren't as high yielding. They're not as high value. And so when you look through your crops and you look through what flowers you want to plant, depending on your markets, depending on where you want to sell, and we're going to get into that here in a second, you want to think about what type and what varieties you want to grow, because that's going to be really important in your mix. It's going to be important on who you're targeting as your customers. It's going to be important on how you're going to price your product. And think about how you're selling, and we're going to get into that here in just a second. How you're selling your product and who you're selling your product to. Because if you're only selling directly to consumer, your prices can change. They can be a little bit higher than if you're selling directly to wholesale, or if you're selling to restaurants and coffee shops and to more wholesale markets. They can be very different. If you're selling to weddings and funeral homes, they can be enormously different. So there is various stages of markup within flowers. And the flower market is vastly different than produce and proteins. And that is one thing to really think about when you're getting into flowers, when you're thinking about adding flowers to your farm, is that flowers are vastly different than produce and proteins. Yes, they're a little bit easier to grow sometimes. I have a black thumb, so I can't say that personally for me, but they're beautiful, but it's a very challenging market. They're not a necessity. They're a luxury item. People treat them as a luxury item. So you need to treat them as a luxury item as well. So markup. How much markup should you charge? What do you think the markup is on weddings, on flowers? Rough percentage. Average. 75%? Okay. What about farm stands? Lower. 50%? Yeah. Yep, standard 3 to 1, okay. And then what about special events? Okay. Okay. So this is markups. Who here would charge 4 times their cost to a bride? I have one. 4 times. You do earn every bit of it. What about special events? 3 times. 3 times as much. Do you think these pumpkins on the table today are 3 times as much as they cost to produce? Do you think when you go to Kroger and buy a pumpkin in the bin, they're 3 times as much as they cost to produce? Okay, thank you. So think about that when you start pricing your products. I will say most markets in Kentucky are not going to support this. This is industry average across the United States. But you are looking at 2 to 3 times, about 1.5 to 2 times, and about 2 times for Kentucky for these, respectively. Depending if you're selling into Louisville, you are looking at these numbers. If you're selling into Lexington, you are looking at these numbers. Cincinnati, you are looking at these numbers. Nashville, most definitely. So think about your markets, think about your target markets, think about where you're selling them. One way to control costs is recipes. Who here likes to cook? Okay, who likes to eat? I guess would be a better way of saying that. Okay, so when you cook, when you eat, you get a recipe, you get a menu, you get a plate full of food. Same thing. Make a recipe. This way you're controlling your costs. If you're like me, when you cook, you find a recipe here, you find a recipe there, you throw everything together. You're like, oh, I like that part of this, I like that part of that. I'm just going to mix them together. Hopefully it works and will turn out for the best. Never make the same recipe twice. It's great. It's also not so great. You can't do that when you have a business. When you make bouquet recipes, you have a set standard, so you know your cost. You know that recipe that you handed Mary Jo is $10, and the same recipe that you handed Carol is $10. You know that those are going to be the same. Even though the flours might differ a little bit, they're still of equal cost, and they're equal cost to you. Mary Jo might not like roses. Carol might love roses, but Mary Jo might like tulips. Tulips and roses might be of equal cost to you. So keep that in mind. So here's kind of a rundown of how to do a bouquet recipe. Same thing when you price out food. Same thing when you work through a recipe of ingredients. You're just adding cost onto there. And I will send this presentation to Joni, and she'll be able to share it out as well for everyone. So then you can put in your markup. So for this large hand-tied bouquet we're going to say for a wedding, it would cost this person $240. I'll move out of the way. So, and that's roughly, the total cost would be about $80, and the markup is about 3 times for a wedding. So, it's the end of my presentation. For the costing spreadsheet that we went through for indirect and direct cost, that top QR code, it does give the 2 examples for tulips and for ranunculus, but it allows you to go through and add in and do your own. If you have questions, contact K-Card. We are out there. Myself and Kara Stewart, our grant facilitator out there, will be there all day. I have to boogie and go to the next room over. So if you have questions, feel free to grab me. We're happy to help in any way that we can. Thank you all so much, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you all for your patience this morning. We wanted to give Katie adequate time to speak, so we cut into the first break just a little bit, so we'll get started here again at 9:15.